So we have a fantastic panel which we're going to get to introduce themselves because I always find it easier to remember who the speaker is if I get them to say their name. So all you, not just for me, for you guys out there, I think it's really important. If I say it, it'll be a random name. If they say it, you'll be able to put their name to their face, which I think is incredibly important for memory. So indies, I still think, are the lifeblood of the next thing that's going to come out. It's the group of people who are going to be able to take the risks, to try something new, to experiment, and so on and so forth. And we have a panel of people who all different roles and engagements of the indie community. They're not all indie devs themselves, but they will have different roles in that space. So we're going to be talking around the subjects as a whole. I'm going to start with Kadri, because you've done a whole bunch of crazy, interesting, lovely stuff, and you've dragged me to lots of exotic places around the world to talk to indie studios. So could you introduce yourself and what you do?
Yes, is this on? Yeah. I'm Kadri Harma, so currently CEO of 966. So 966 is a company that is building... Did it go? No. We are building the games industry in Saudi Arabia. So through different initiatives and events and products, we are supporting the growth of the industry there. But also, I have been investing in games myself for over 12 years. Founded Game Founders, which is the accelerator running since 2012, and multiple other projects on the side where I'm just taking Oscar on trips around the world.
That's my favorite bit. Thank you very much. So do you want to introduce yourself as well, please?
Hi. Hello, my name is Julianna, and I'm old school indie developer from FireDice. So we are that old school indie developers who are producing and developing games after our main work in game development, you know.
Yeah, so you work all day making games, you work all night making games.
Yeah. 15 hours working day, I like it.
Yeah.
We are producing some games like RPG, roguelike, you know, everything on our plate. And I'm also producer of products and online educational things, and I am book author for promotion and social networks, and it's like a little bit spoiler that I think that for indie social network development is one of the main assets.
Grit is the important aspect of an indie developer. Mohamad,
Hi, thanks for having me. My name is Mohamad Zehtabi. I'm the studio director of LeanGo Game Studio. I'm in the game industry for more than 10 years now, and we are producing mobile games, casual and mid-core, and we are trying to make a PC game after all of these years.
Yeah, cool. Samar. Yeah.
So hi, I'm Samar. I'm here from Pakistan, and basically I would describe ourselves as an ecosystem builder, ecosystem supporter for the games industry. So probably in number of years, probably the most junior. We've been doing this for 3 years now. And essentially what we do, we assist them in terms of conducting game jams, bridging the gap between industry and academia, so that's one piece. And then of course the kind of services that the gaming studios need, so if they need to be connected to investors, helping them in preparing with their pitch decks, the financials around it, if they need services like monetization and app, apps, ad platforms, mediation platforms, things like that. We're doing an event, for instance, with Unity. I see the friends there tomorrow for the Pakistan game developers who are here at PGC. So we'll do a lot of stuff to support the gaming ecosystem in the country right now, and looking forward to establishing ourselves in Dubai and bringing over the love for the indies and for the developing studios here.
Great, I'm done.
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Abdallah, a founder of FitNot Games. It's an indie game studio established in Egypt. We started in 2020. However, I've been in the industry since 2012. We are focused on creating games that is filling the gap in the region that represent the culture of that region. And this is the mission that we're actually going on. All our games are hyper-focused on having some sort of representation to the region we are in.
And if you don't know, I'm Oscar Clark. I'm from Fundamentally Games. We're an indie publisher. We focus on live ops games under a consumer brand called Jetpack Collective. Let's start with, I don't want to go into what is an indie game developer, because we'll be here for a week, because everyone has a different opinion on that. But what is success look like? So, Kadri, when you're dealing with teams, when you're talking to developers, what do you think is the kind of thing that holds true to what a successful indie would be?
So I have never run a studio in my life, so I'm absolutely the person to answer. But
No, but
from an
you've
investor
talked to so many of
absolutely,
them.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So I've seen like thousands over the years. Honestly, for me, everybody needs to define their own success. I feel sometimes the biggest mistake of an indie is to think that I want to be Supercell tomorrow. And that is like not realistic. So let's not gear everybody towards that. Let's not crunch and, kill half the team.
But let's spend 10 years making Java games and then making a game on Facebook that fails. You can make the game.
But it depends. It's like the same question is like if I would ask you, I want to be rich, what is rich?
Yeah.
Is rich that I can provide for my family, or is rich that I'm owning like a,
15 Lamborghinis, that'd be fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that like at first, when an indie starts in the first place, like they would need to define what they want to achieve. So do I want to become like a lifestyle company? Do I want to scale enormously and like IPO? Do I want to do, because the process to that goal is always different. And I don't think that all indies need to necessarily gear towards I want to raise money, because in reality the percentage of indies able to raise money is just so low that I would much rather be a little bit more, let's say, creative, figure out other ways to grow first, to prove something, and then start growing. But
I know not enough people are just trying to build portfolios and feed themselves tomorrow.
As an indie developer, I think there need to be to find a balance and harmony between generating something new, the new game experience for players, because indie developers are much more like fluent and they can generate something new. Yeah, they're flexible and sure they can try at least. And in other case, they must be commercially successful. Otherwise, they won't proceed with the new games. So it's something like a balance between these two stuff.
I do think there's a rock and roll aspect to this. I think, to be an indie, you've got to have something to say. It's not just that I like playing games. I think I can do something to that genre. I think I can say something in the way that you play. I think I can change the way you think by creating a perspective. And having a perspective on that is really important. But I think, at the end of the day, we also have to make enough money to eat. Mohamad, for yourself.
As an indie game developer, I think we need to be careful about the definition of indie game developer and being an experience. You need to be an experience. You need to care about the business. Game development is a business. You have to care about the financial issues as well. So I think if you want to be happy at the end of the day, you need to target the audience that you think that you can deliver your message to them.
Yes.
And for indie developers, is always niche market. If you get attention from them, and after that you can grow them, scale them to the mass market, like some games have done this before. They are indie, but they have more than millions downloads on Steam or other platforms.
Well, Among Us is basically that kind of experience. It was it was a werewolf-style experience done in a fun way, blew up because somebody saw it and it became the thing to do. Amazing.
So look, I think what's very important for indies, because we're talking about creators, and they're doing it because they're super, super passionate about it. As an indie, maybe it's the first game that they're building. So I think the very fact that you're actually able to launch the game, whether it's on a Play Store or it's on itch.io, it doesn't really matter, but that first product that you're able to build, and the next step with the first product that you're able to have published with the publisher. So that success, I think, that kind of feeling of,
kind of a journey in some ways.
That feeling of fulfillment, I think, that's like a big one. But the other one, I think everybody wants to be Flappy Bird, right? So I think the money is going to be an important part, especially because you're an indie. And everybody's not going to get there, but that's the inspiration in a way, right? And I think the other piece, I think, which is really, really something which will hit home with indies. So I spoke to a lot of them. I, again, can't speak from the indies perspective, but I spoke to a bunch of them, is going to be the user base. So receiving that kind of feedback, seeing those people engaging with your content, giving you criticism as well, or giving you ideas, I think that sort of engagement that they're going to see from users that's going to be a big, big win.
You make a good point, because at the end of the day, we're talking about so many different kinds of teams. So we've got the teams that, like Mohamad and yourself, you talked about as people who have past experience and they want to stop being told what to make and they want to make the thing they want to make. And then you've got people who are starting out. They don't even have a portfolio. They've never actually made it. A lot of students we've seen do that. And then then for them, the proof point that success is the journey. Do they get noticed? Do they get seen? Abdallah, what about yourself? I mean, what's the thing that drives you? What's success for you?
I think I agree with what they said. It's like but just to add to it is, I think to me it's the alignment between my creativity and what I'm trying to do on the creative side, and why making it sustainable and actually be as available in the market as much as possible. So yeah, it is the balance between both, and the alignment has to happen. If you're making games just to generate money, absolutely nothing wrong with that, but you will lose that creative side and will affect your passion about what you're doing. And if you just focus about creating amazing games, but you drop how you're going to commercialize it, then you suffer on the long term of actually being around.
So obviously, creative side we kind of take for granted. Commercial side is often something we expect to be weaknesses in an indie team. But I've been interested to explore, I'll stay with you for a little bit, Abdallah, but I'm thinking, what are the sort of biggest challenges and, as taking that indie stance, what do you think indie teams have to deal with most? What's the most difficult things they have to deal with?
There's a lot of things that they have to deal with. But
pick a few. I'm sure they'll all get covered.
I guess again, it's back on the same point. When you start a new project, we're trying to say, well, at FitNot, for example, we say we're crafting Arabic gaming experience. This is not just a slogan. Yeah. This is something we believe in. So we start with saying, okay, we have an idea. Does this align with the statement? Are we making something that is unique to the culture, to the people, and so on?
And that sounds like a definition of what your success looks like if you achieve that.
Exactly. And it's like, and we start from that point, but then we start adding on top of it. Okay, what we can do? How fast can we do it?
Yeah.
Is this commercially viable? And you start building on top of it until you figure out, is this idea worth pursuing or not?
Yeah.
So the challenges come in this iteration, and you try to figure out, how fast can I actually go through this process, because I need to do it multiple times. You don't want to take like 5-6 months to reach a conclusion like, oh, this is not a good idea, right? So I think the challenge is you need to move fast, but at the same time you have to hold what do you believe in like kind of protected. And that's usually is the challenge that we're trying to face.
Honestly, I love that, and particularly because when we do accelerator stuff, a lot of the stuff we end up doing is to try and get people to write out the things that they consider to be success factors and get them to put a number to it. So things like, I found very similar to the one you're talking about in our indie experience. We had a team we're currently working with that are trying to establish a Welsh identity as a game developer. And I think I really love that. So we tell them, okay, what's the KPI? How do you know you've achieved that? And then we have a couple of others, and again, I give them a KPI. The reason I like this mindset is that and putting a number to it means that I have to look at what I'm planning, and I try to work out, is the thing I'm going to do actually going to contribute to passing those KPIs? And that makes it much cleaner, much easier to make decisions about, do I take that work for hire job? Is it going to make me better at being the Arab indie game studio? If it is, great, do it. If it's not, maybe I should think of something else. So Kadri, you deal with you've talked to lots of teams, you've seen lots of teams. Of the challenges they face, what are the ones that really stand out to you?
I would always say monetization, because I feel, as was previously mentioned as well, indies come from a place of creativity, and that is perfect, and that is why we need them, because we need to have more diverse ideas and different things that maybe big companies are not flexible enough to do at a speed. But at the same time, I feel that, and the monetization is not necessarily because of skills, but I sometimes feel that it's like, I don't even want to learn this because I'm doing art. But I feel that this is something that is a very short-term strategy. So I would rather say take the time and learn the monetization part, because it's not actually, it is kind of a rocket science, but not
Kadri,
that much of a rocket
monetization's
science.
evil. Don't you know that?
Well, yes, but that's what I'm saying. Then you are going to be only indie until your mother lets you live in their basement, and then the party's over.
Yeah.
So I would still sort of, look at the monetization and numbers in general. Numbers are our friends. In the games industry, it is, user acquisition and all these parts. it's basically Excel magic, and this is something that people can learn and just publish, test, look at the numbers, do something differently, move fast. Because an indie that makes money, that's why everybody wants to be Flappy Bird, right? An indie that makes money, it's so much more.
I think they more want to be Rami or Rami Mitchell or Mike Bithell. I mean, those guys are the ones we want to be because A, they're successful and they make money and they're really nice people.
Right?
Yeah.
So let's aim for that.
Yeah. Sorry, for yourself.
For my case, I think it's also about how to be entrepreneur from the start.
Yeah.
Because, all these artists who want to proceed and develop some nice games, they just forget to be entrepreneur, that there is accountant and some government staff, and, you need to hire people and to sign a contract with them. All the time it's something like just on words, and that's, it can be a disaster in future. And another aspect, it's, it's by marketing and monetization. If it's not free to play, but pay to play, for example, and buy to play games, still, you need to think about marketing, and you still need to think about social media, promotion, etc., to create a brand. Because of course, indie just don't care about it, and that's a problem.
And again, I'm going to come back to my two favourites, Mike and Rami. I mean, Bithell Games is successful not just because of Mike and his amazing talent, and his team talent, but it's also Alexander, who he works with, who is a phenomenal machine, an absolute kind of entrepreneurial. I won't build up the plot too much, but genuinely fantastic operator. And I think the fact that he has that command. And then if you've ever seen Rami do a talk, 9 times out of 10, it's about entrepreneurship. That's the important thing. Let's not forget, these guys are actually professionals, and they're able to do that creative process because they're professional. Sorry, I mean, going off the one there, but showing love for the people I really like.
I think that the most important thing about indie game development is decision-making process. It's really hard to, all of game developers in an indie game development studio love their game, so they cannot change the way that they think before, and it's really hard to talk to everyone and just vote, and it's really hard to make decision like that, and nobody's sure what decision is right. Even big publisher doesn't know what game is really working or not. So whenever you have a problem, for example, if you are developing a mobile game, you have problem with retention. You don't know exactly what makes your retention better or your KPI better. So the decision making for indie game developers who has no support, who are on their own, it's really difficult to. There are lots of noises out of there. One day you heard that Web3 is coming out and it's next boom. One day AI, one day another thing, and it's really hard to focus on what really works for you. And I think experienced guy in a team has a big role, because he can make decision when it's necessary to make it.
Absolutely, I think decision making is such a phenomenally important part, and the thing is, it's accepting that some of them that you're going to make are wrong. That's okay. Failure is always an option, to quote Mythbusters. And another quote from Mythbusters is, the only difference between science and screwing around is writing things down. Which I think is, I know these are silly comments, but they're actually genuinely important. I think you only learn through failure.
So I think everybody has raised very, very valid points, right, so far on the panel. But just to kind of reiterate in a way, I think creators, they're very, very attached to the product that they have. And entrepreneurs as well, sometimes we're very like, oh my God, this is my baby. How could you say anything bad about my baby? I can do whatever, but this is my product. So I think that kind of myopic thinking can come in. And the other side is the business side of games. Understanding that, navigating that. I think that's one of the biggest challenges that you find if you're an indie. You got in to make your game, and then suddenly you don't really know what game economy, what that looks like, or what monetization looks like. And I think one of the very, very important ways to address those challenges is the ecosystem. So that's why I love game jams, because what that does is suddenly there are indies who are going to come in, they're going to form teams, they'll meet other people from the community, and mentors. I think that's one of the very, very critical pieces. People who've been there, done that, suddenly you can hack time by working with them. So I think, those things are really critical. And that's why the ecosystem players exist.
If only people set up organizations like that.
Yeah.
And if I can add to that, I think game jams are also very good because you actually have to put your product out.
Absolutely.
Because the whole baby comment, I feel sometimes, I don't really want to show everybody my baby because maybe they'll say it's ugly.
Yeah.
So it's you're holding your baby somewhere inside and you don't show it, and that's also one of the issues.
That's unhealthy.
Like, put it out, fail, learn, do it again,
Absolutely.
but do it fast and don't waste your time.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's the opinions. Brett said it. It's one of my favourite quotes. Which is basically opinions strongly felt but loosely held. Incredibly important thing for any creative to do. Sorry, Abdullah, we're taking all of these sort of angles from you. For you, what are the challenges? Oh, we've done the challenges with you, haven't we? Yeah, we come back full circle. Oh, see, I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's switch back and so turn it on its head a little bit then. So what do you think is the thing that you think most enables an indie to do what they need to do to be successful? What's the thing you think you'd like to see that would most enable you to be successful?
Yeah, okay, so I guess the struggle that all indies face is exposure, right?
Yeah.
And assuming that we did all the steps that we just talked about, it's like, I think I have something good, we worked the numbers, and now it's time to show it. You have to build a community from the ground up, and if you're working in a specific genres or specific platforms, that's not always applicable. So if I'm doing a Steam game or a PC game, yes, absolutely, I'll go on Reddit, I start early on, we all know the guidelines of something like this, and if you actually have something good, you rally the people around the game, and maybe you have like early access and all this kind of steps we all know. But if you're doing mobile game, that's a different story, because it's extremely hard to build a community behind that if the game is not actually successful or at least getting some traction.
Yeah.
So exposure is a problem. Also, when you start putting yourself out there with the games, and I'm talking again about the mobile specifically, is that the competition is extremely high, and now you have to worry about acquisition and all the stuff, which absolutely you have to, but it is a barrier to how far can you go, even if you have a good idea. So we have that case actually happening to us is the game that we feel like it was aligned. Initial testing said this is good. We tested with the users, but then the genre was really competitive, and so to get noticed, you have either to have a publisher or someone, or you put your own money, right? Because acquisition, and you look at the numbers, you look at how you're gonna do this, and it doesn't become it's not gonna happen.
So exposure for you is
Yeah. So you just have to kill it at this point.
And Kadri, for the teams that you've seen, what would be the thing that has been the most effective way for them to be able to be successful?
I would say the courage to hustle, because even here at the conference, whoever actually goes up and talks to the people that they want to get advice from are 100% more likely to get that advice rather than the people who are waiting at the indie booth for people to come to them. And it's the same way for building the community. Just figure out growth hack, do something crazy, be known for it, get a community. Or like put something out, fail, just have the courage. Because I kind of see a lot of studios, a lot of pitch decks, everything. And there are really like two kinds. The ones that are like, please, value me for my art. And then it's like, I'm hustling the hell out of it, sorry. So I feel that the ones that are really hustling also as humans are the ones that you are going to remember, because you're probably going to have a funny story with them or something that they did, and then they are going to be like in the next conference they're maybe going to be on the stage because they're interesting, and then before they know it they're going to be best friends with Oscar, helping them with live ops, and there you go. So I feel that the courage in general to like hustle and be entrepreneurial is something that will always, always make the difference.
And the more often you do it, the better you get at it.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Sorry.
Yeah, and another case, of course, you need to build relationship with your community a lot. Because first of all, before there was a saying like big fish will eat small fish. Right now, fast fish will eat big fish. That's the reality. So of course, if you will test the prototype or screenshot or something and take feedback from your customers. And now it's super easy to do it because of social networks and because of all these like offers from Steam for the festivals, for game jams, etc. to collect as many feedback as you can and make the game that customers will like from the start, you know, to update it, to somehow to change it maybe. Not to be just down to earth and yes, I will do this baby as I want and nobody can change my opinion, you know. So listen to your customers, potential one, and first of all, like your friends and family, they're not objective at all. They're like you. That's why you need to go out and to show your game everybody.
But I showed my game off at PAX and it was all great. Yeah. Sorry, Mohamad. What's your...
I couldn't be more agree with Kadri.
Yeah.
You know, courage to hustle a lot means a lot, you know. There are lots of area that you have to care about, you know, having good relationship with community, have a good tech team, have a good art style, you know. There are lots of indie games out there, so you have to care about your art style. And the first one, you have to design a good game which has a good unique selling point, so you need game designers. But all of them happens when you try and try. Yeah.
So just to add to that, right? So I think one of the things, and I'm talking more from the Pakistan perspective or perspective of maybe emerging economies where money is not very much available and running your kitchen is a very big reality. I think, you know, little pockets of funding, and we're not talking about big funding, but we're talking about small, you know, prizes here and there, money that keeps the kitchen running, and you're actually able to keep experimenting, because that's what you're supposed to do as indies. I think that's something very, very important. The other piece, I think I'm coming back, there's a saying in Pakistan, I'm not going to say it in Urdu, but it basically says that the thirsty person has to go to the well. The well will never come to you. Yes. So, you know, the first game jam ever that we did, it was peak COVID, it was November 2020. And we had mobilized the mentors, etc. There was one guy who was up till 2:30 a.m. in the Discord lobby, and we called all of the mentors and whoever was awake, because a lot of people were, you know, keeping different times. And they all joined in the lobby, and everybody was giving him feedback, and he made the game, right? So I was there, and then I mobilized the community, and I said, hey, can we delay the deadline? Is everybody comfortable if we delay the deadline to submit the game? And everybody agreed, because this guy was so passionate. It wasn't the best game. It didn't win anything. But he did get a prize, actually, for the most resilient something, right? So I think that's really important.
Most resilient is a good one.
It's the cockroach prize.
Exactly. Absolutely. So, I mean, we're almost out of time. So what's the one thing you'd want any indie developer to take away from this panel? What's that one thing?
Yeah, I think we've mentioned it since the start, is just understand that making games and running a studio as a business is a completely two different things. You are in a unique position because you're an indie, which allow you for a lot of creativity, and that's amazing, and passion will get you far, but without the other half, you're not gonna make it. So please understand that it is a business at the end of the day. You need to be able to manage both effectively on that side and on that side. You're not going to be perfect, not in the first time, not in the 100th time. That is absolutely fine, but you will learn on the job. So yeah, I guess it's an amazingly great pain point, and talking to you guys, it's almost in every country, and in Egypt is the same. You see the community, you see people are extremely passionate. They have no idea how to do a business. So you have to focus on this.
So, Kadri, I'm going to be mean. You can't repeat that. What's the one thing you'd add?
I would say go crazy. With everything that you do, just go crazy. You have the luxury to go crazy.
Yeah.
Like afterwards, when you're working in a big studio, that will not be there anymore. So with everything, like, I mean, of course, plan and all of that, but just go crazy.
Cool.
Yeah, and from my side, I will suggest to finish the games. If you have a possibility between like super big game and smaller game, but which you really can produce and make and launch, choose the smaller one, because it's better than it will be produced afterwards, you know, and you will see the result and you will be motivated by the result, and you can continue and proceed with everything.
We have a phrase for that. It's called ship it. Sorry. Just ship it. Yeah, sorry.
I think we don't need to be good at everything. You just need to have one which is best in the world. But you don't have to be good at everything, and you need to focus on your game development process. You know, sometimes indie game developers are producing 5 games at a time, but they are only 6 people. It's really wrong. So I think that focusing on a game, if you haven't published game yet, is really important. And another thing that I want to mention is that if you are an indie game development studio, you have to be careful about the estimation of the future. You know, you have to stick to the deadlines. Yeah, that's it.
Can I give 2 tips, please?
Go on, quick.
So one is going to be very simple, which I think is valid for all entrepreneurs. So if ever you've like dropped a spider and you see after a little while it climbs up again, right? So one of the things is resilience. So you have to pick yourself up. It's going to be ups and downs, etc., etc. You have to pull through. And now seriously for indies, I think listening. So that's one of the biggest tips for you. Just listen. Listen to your audience, see what they want. Listen to your mentors, see what they're doing. Listen to the trends. Listen to insights. You know, just kind of stay glued to different podcasts that are out there, etc., and see what is working, what's not working. Play. You have to play games, right, to see what mechanics are coming out, etc. What do you like, right? The look and the feel. So a lot of times there are developers who are very good, but developers who are making websites, etc., maybe they're software developers. It's very different when you're trying to make games. So you have to learn that, right? So.
And I think the last thing I'd add to that is just, if you're making a game because you want to play it, you're probably making a mistake. You want to make the game because you cannot do anything but make that game. It's the making part that is the thing that makes us passionate, have the grit. And I think without that, you aren't really committing. Anyway, that's my kind of take on it. Thank you very much, everybody. I hope.
But what's your tip, Oscar, though?
That was my tip. You know, don't just be a person who likes to play games, therefore I'll make the game I want to play. Make games because you cannot do anything but make games. You cut me. I don't just want to play games. I have to make games. Have to. Yeah. Cool. Thank you very much, guys.
That's great.